I'll throw us on Facebook, and then I will tell you, I'll give you the number based on our suggestions, and then you just pick a number.
Oh, I love it.
And then we just kind of go. We do like I did one of
So the
these.
number based on, and then you'll say the third thing
Yeah.
down is this. Got it.
Yeah. I did one of these with Justin Kaufman.
Oh boy.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. And he's like, I'm not an improviser. And I'm like, come on, man, let's do it.
He
And
says that. He's been saying that since the day I met him. I'm not really an improviser. I'm like,
come on, dude.
yes, you are.
You are. And it was so fun. And we did it over like Backyard or StreamYard or something for his, he also.
Oh, on Twitch.
Yeah, we did
Yeah.
that. And then it was like, we talked for like an hour. It was really fun and reminisced about like, the Schadenfreude shows and comedy back in Chicago at that time. Like it was a fun connection there.
I love it.
So we've got one. Okay, so pick a number 1 to 18.
Let's go with 12.
All right, and at about 10-ish, I'll call an out there. So we've got 2, 4, 6, 8. So this comes from Bo, and our suggestion is 2 left hands. 2 left hands.
Thank you, Bo.
Thank you, Bo.
I mean, do you want to start? You don't have to.
I mean, you can start. Why don't you start? I defer. How about that? I defer. You can start.
The only reason I'm here is because my therapist told me that I should try new things. And I just wanted to say that out loud. It's not like something I've been wanting to do. It's more of a like a wellness thing, I guess. And I live in fear of disappointing my therapist. So okay, you didn't ask for any of that. Okay, so do we need music on, or do we just
What would make you comfortable is really, do you want
I guess no music, because then I might get distracted by the lyrics, and sometimes I sing along, which is very embarrassing, I think.
You look you seem nervous.
Oh my God, do I? Yeah, yes, I am nervous. I'm practicing telling the truth, and this is the truth. I've never been to a drop-in dance class before, and I just picked it on the community catalog and I just thought there would be more people here. I didn't know it was going to be like one-on-one,
Well, it is just a one-on-one class, and I can light a candle that usually takes off a little bit of the pressure. This is just, can I ask you a question?
Sure. Yeah.
Raise your hand if you can sing. Okay.
I mean, is this like my opinion, or other people have said like, hey, you can sing, or is it just like my belief? Because a lot of people think they can sing and they really can't sing.
I mean, I think your answer came through. Raise your hand if you can dance.
I'm taking it. If my hand was, that's a firm down. It's a hard hand down.
Can I share with you something, Marilyn?
Please.
Everyone that's come to see me can sing and dance. And when you were 5, if I asked you if you can sing and dance, your hand would have shot up. You can sing and dance. we're not putting any limits on it. You can sing and dance.
Okay. I want to believe that.
Okay.
And I am trying desperately to accept at face value what you have just said, because you are the professional.
Thank you.
Um, but I want you, can I ask you a question?
Yeah, absolutely.
Raise your hand if you've ever taught somebody and you're just like, oh, yeesh, like this is not what should be happening under the umbrella that is the word dance.
I'm looking at my hands, Marilyn. They don't seem to be going up.
Okay. Okay. So in the history of your Shea Marks Dance Salon, you have never had somebody come in that you have tried to help and you're just like, this is a lost cause.
In the 29 years that
Wow.
I've been at this location,
Oh,
that is correct. Nobody's ever come in here who's a lost cause. Here, why don't you just to start, put your feet on my feet.
oh. I mean, I I'm worried I'm worried I'm going to hurt you, Mark.
If it does hurt, I'll say something, okay?
Okay. Okay. All right.
Here we go. Ready? Just hold my hand.
Okay.
Okay. How do you feel safe? Do you feel okay?
I feel awkward and safe.
Okay. Two, three, four.
What is that? Did we just do it?
We, you just did it.
Was that
That was dance. Yes.
okay? Again, my therapist is like, when you go out and take a chance, try not to cry with the person that allows you to take the chance. But
Well,
I have just never felt more free than I did in those 24 seconds of stepping on a strange man's feet and moving rhythmically.
yeah, that's the power of dance, Marilyn.
Wow.
Two, three, four.
Okay. And do you always just use your mouth as an instrument, or is it
Two,
because
three,
that's
four. This is
because if you did want to turn on, real music, not that your mouth isn't providing real music, that I would be fine with that. But
I can
that was very
because that's lesson two. People think that you need to hear the music. You need to hear music, Marilyn. And sometimes you know what that does? It puts you in a box and you feel you have to do it a certain way, the right way. And there is no right way. I want you to dance the Marilyn way.
I I don't think I would know what that would look like. I don't, God damn it, I wish my ex-husband were here right now, because he has he has fed me this narrative of like, here are the things you can't do, okay? And of them, top on the list were, throw a good dinner party and then also dance rhythmically. And I see now how I let myself be informed by somebody else's opinion. And God damn it, why did I do that, Mark?
Because, Marilyn, you're human. You're a human being. I knew once a young man who they said was too overweight. They said, had 2 left feet, couldn't move, was an abomination on the dance floor.
Who was saying this to you?
Said, uh, didn't look like they moved like a human moved.
Oh my God. Oh my God.
Is that your therapist? Hey,
Forgot. I set an alarm
you
in
need to
case this
take
was,
it?
nope, in case this was going really badly. I was going to answer it and pretend that it was my therapist, but I'm having the time of my life, Mark. So go back to the part where there was like oh my God.
That's okay. You should
Oh,
take it. Do you need to take that, Marilyn?
no, no. Sometimes I forgot. I set 2 alarms, one so that it wouldn't seem like a lie. You know what I mean?
Right, right.
Um, but I want to go back to the part where this angry mob was saying these horrible things. I assume you were talking about yourself. You said you were talking about a young man, but
That's right, Marilyn. And
okay.
it was at my mother's 3rd wedding. And I had taken the dance floor. And
Okay.
I just started dancing and something inside of me started moving and moving and I couldn't stop. And you know what happened?
What?
I cried. I broke down and I cried. I went into the bathroom stall. But then you know what happened?
What?
I was trying to catch my breath because I was crying a lot. But then I
Right.
heard
And
a,
you were hefty.
I was
Yes.
I was husky.
Hmm.
And I heard a voice inside my head that said, don't listen to them. What they think of you is none of your damn business. And I left that stall and I vowed to myself, never again will I let someone tell me what I cannot do. And that young man was me. You're right.
Okay. Okay. It was because there was a minute there where I was like,
That
he
was
has
that,
not revealed it was him.
was that young
And
man.
so then I was like, maybe this is a third person narrative.
2, 3, 4. Scene.
Sorry, my sister tried to FaceTime me twice.
Don't. First off, never apologize. That was the best. Second off, I didn't know if that was yours or mine.
Fine.
I love that she.
Turned this off, but didn't turn this off.
Well, it just shows how great you are because it's like incorporate it. Incorporate it. It's part, right? It's seriously, it's like it's part of it. We
I
can't.
know. But why does it panic us? So who cares? Who
Well,
cares that my phone rang and yet I am like this, like could not be more low stakes. And I'm like, well, there's the ball game.
because
The phone rang.
isn't that how we are? Is like we are
Yeah.
constantly critiquing ourselves and we're constantly like,
Yeah.
well, you messed that up. Why, how dare you have that happen? Where it's like, it's not, I have no control over this, but we absolutely freak out about that
I
stuff.
know. I know. And it's something also like, who can't relate to that? We're all like tied to this machine. It's not like I went up to give a keynote speech in front of 5,000 people
Yes.
and didn't turn my phone off.
Has that ever happened to you? Have you ever been on a gig where I'm trying to think if I've ever been.
I'm trying to think. I've absolutely been on gigs where I'm um, in the bathroom and I realize I didn't turn my mic pack off. But I don't, not that I would be being projected
Yes.
out to the audience, but like for the tech crew.
Yeah, because usually they're in
Take care
control
of.
of, they're usually in
Right.
control of it. So they'll turn
Right.
it up, but then also you're like, they can't, they might still hear it. You don't know.
Totally. And the other thing that I have been on jobs where we will all be mic'd and be backstage, and then we will like be talking about some weird person that is a part of the gig, either on the client side or the tech side. And then you're just like, it's not good.
And
That moment is not good.
that's one of the things that was a lesson to learn early on for me. And it's very hard because you get together with improvisers and they're very funny people. And
Yes.
you naturally want to do these bits together. And then you're like, I should stop, but I can't. We're going
No,
somewhere.
you're like, I can't stop.
I can't
Can't stop,
stop.
won't stop.
And then you go, all right, let's take a moment and either I've even done that thing where you put your hand over the mic and you're like, I don't even know if that's stopping.
No,
I don't
no,
know.
that's just like a That's like a sneeze guard at a salad bar. Like it's not gonna stop you from getting COVID. It's like just a gentleman's gesture of like, I'm trying not to be a complete jerk
It's like
and failing.
I walk with I got a dog like a month ago. We got a dog and it's great. Love it. It's
Oh, what's the dog's name?
Tessa.
Oh, I like that name.
Great name. And walking it early in the morning, like because I'm usually up by you, I'm sure you're the same way, like 6:37 because of kids, you got to get up and
Yeah, not if I can help it.
but I end up walking with her and I'll have my mask, but because it's so early, I'm like, I won't put it on. And then I'll see somebody like across the street and I'll do a gesture like I'm going to put it on. I'm like, and then I just like keep walking because I'm like, well, they're across the street. Whereas like months ago, I would have totally like had everything on. And now I'm like, I'll give the gesture. It's
Yeah, across the street is fine.
for a while, I was like, why aren't they like, I was
I
so
know.
strict
I
about
know.
it. I was like, you're outside, just do wear it. It's not that big of an inconvenience. And
No, I think the best thing to arm yourself with right now is a child who will say with no holds barred out loud, like my child does in Brooklyn, Mommy, why do those people not have their mask on?
yes,
It's the best because it's a little sad because we've put the fear of God in him. So he's probably ruined for the rest of his life. These kids are all going to be scarred in the weirdest ways, but
yes.
he'll just like say it out loud, like completely mystified. And then it allows me to be like, I don't know.
Uh,
I don't know. I don't know
I
why
don't
they're
know,
not wearing
son.
their mask.
I have no idea. It's the
I
best thing.
don't know their story. They must be special.
Let's keep going. I had I lived when I was in Chicago. I lived our downstairs neighbor who, oh my God, ironically, well, I don't even know if it's ironically, but one of the best pieces of advice I ever got was from the husband who was married to a woman who knew Tyler Dean Kempf from work. So it was just an ironic
Small world.
small world. And he goes, his name was Joel Bland, and he goes, "You're gonna do something to mess your kids up." He's like, "There's gonna be something, you don't know what it is. You try your best." And I thought that was really great advice. It's like you
You
try
know
your
what?
best.
Thank you, Joel Bland. Any
There's
relation to Joey Bland?
no, and that's the other crazy thing. It's like, and Joel Bland did some writing for he had a job, but on the side he did some writing. He had some jokes published for Wait Wait Don't Tell Me, but he wasn't
Oh,
like he had gone through the Second City writing program, not related to Joey Bland at all, same last name, and was married to someone who knew Tyler Dean Kemp from another job they worked together. It's a crazy world.
so there is a research paper to be, or like a project to
Yes.
be pursued, which I do not have the time or the inclination, but I put it out there to the Facebook world. If you grow up with the last name Bland,
Mm.
does that put you on a path to becoming a humor based person? Not that humor is the opposite of bland, but
I
Joey Bland, if he's listening, are you listening out there, Joey Bland?
better be.
Joey Bland is possibly one of the funniest people in the entire world.
Without a doubt, right? With and smart and funny.
Like off the charts smart. It's infuriating how smart he is. And then he's also that quick. I'm like, you either are, my thing is like you can have one or the other.
Right.
Like you can be super smart or you can be that funny, and Joey Bland is both. And so I wonder if you grow up and your last name is Bland, because people are always like, oh, I'm assuming people have made comments about Joel and Joey's last name.
Do you
And they
know?
both pursue humor. I think that's interesting.
Do you know? Do I'm sure you know Joey Bland was a three-time Jeopardy winner.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
And do you know what Alex Trebek said to him during one of
What?
the like commercial, like coming back from commercials? He goes, "Joey Bland, anything but." Like Alex Trebek had a little crush on Joey Bland during that Jeopardy run, and
I did
Joey
not know that.
I will never forget that. It's like Joey Bland, anything but. And it was just, he developed, I'm not kidding, Alex Trebek developed a little crush over Joey Bland. If you watch the show, you're like, I think
Of
he
course
has a
he
crush.
did.
Well, everyone does.
Of course, Alex Trebek, rest in peace, was like, can I be this guy's friend?
Yes. I mean,
And
he's
he
one
probably
of
didn't
the,
get up the nerve to ask him. And Joey would have said, yes, you can be friends with me, Alex Trebek.
how did you get started in improv? How did you take your
Oh,
first class?
well, Jay.
The year?
The year was I studied a little bit in undergrad. Like I went to a theater program that didn't have a lot of improv. Like we did like a unit on improv, but there was like no improv group or and so it was very new to me. And my now brother-in-law, who was not my brother-in-law at the time, he was my sister's friend. When I moved to Chicago, he said, you should take classes at Second City. And I was like new and didn't know. And I was like, okay. And so that was it. That was it. Like I knew a little bit and went, and I was like, I didn't know you could study it. Like I didn't know there was like a
Right.
whole place to go, let alone multiple places in Chicago. And so it was like the first thing I did when I got here is I signed up to audition for the conservatory, and that was it. That the
Wow.
rest is her story. And then in my conservatory class were all the Schadenfreude guys.
Now, uh, Schadenfreude was a pivotal sketch comedy group in Chicago, and that's not just hyperbolic. They were like, it was one of those groups that you all did some things that, like, not just like comedy wise, but like Kaufman had a press conference at City Hall at the
Yeah,
end
he
of,
did.
like,
I feel like
and
I need the sun is setting here in New York. So oh no, that's horrible. I was gonna turn on a light. I think I just made it worse.
uh,
Um,
but you would do things that
yeah.
just challenged because you're like, we think this would be fun. And the shows that you did always had like great outs and big energy. And it was one of those things that Second City for years tried to get you and some of the folks in Schadenfreude to work for them. And you all were like, no, we like doing our own thing, which was like kind of unheard of for a long time.
Well, it was, I mean, oh God. I mean, looking back now, it's like, God, what would have happened? Right. Like that was, I think, one of those things where it was like, do you go that route? And it was just so much fun. It was so much fun. I couldn't imagine. It was like a FOMO thing. I couldn't imagine missing out on the thing that we had started to create because it felt like a thing. And I don't know. We were very lucky and we all got along super well. And I think we were the right combination of people that liked to do comedy and people that liked to run a business, frankly. I mean, I think Sandy
Huge.
Marshall and Justin Kaufman are equally business minded as they are creative. Um, yeah, kind of like Joey Bland is equally smart and funny. Um, though, those two in particular in our crew, they're very savvy with how they, and so we had big plans. We were like, let's do this. And then I like was like, blink, it's 10 years later. Like we just like kept going and going. And so
And it put you ahead of a lot of other groups because you had people who had that business mind and that we can do it and it's not limited by
I think so.
place for sure. And like,
I think so because we never and I didn't know how to identify this at the time, but I'm sure like I bet Sandy and Justin would be like, yeah, we did. But we didn't have to rely on anybody else to give us stage time.
yes,
We went and found our own space and we rented our own little theater, and then we got to control. And I knew so many people that were our contemporaries that were waiting for, and this whole business is about waiting for somebody else to give you permission to do the thing you like to do.
right? With the people you want to do. So instead of
Yeah.
doing your show with Schadenfreude, it's like, oh, you're going to be in a cast with people you may or may not get along with, doing material you may or may not like for an audience you probably don't enjoy, versus the Heartland gigs and doing those shows where it was just
Yeah.
just you created your own thing. And when I when I started taking classes, the same thing. I fell into a group and I was like, I don't want to do shows at Second City. I want to do shows with this group. There was a big
Yeah.
difference for me.
Well, it'd be this, I think what we do, there's a lot. I mean, we were talking about this before we went live on Facebook. I realized we started talking when the sun was out. So I didn't like set up a light or anything. Now the sun is setting in New York. So I really apologize. It's gonna like just I'm gonna create my own blackout. But before we went live to improvise, we were talking about how much we miss seeing the people that do this work, right? It's like you can do this work like this, but part of the fun is showing up at the theater and seeing who's there and then talk. And then somebody shows up to watch the show that you haven't seen in a while, and you get to have all these great interactions that just aren't happening anymore. And so I think that's just it. Like when I met those guys in my classes, I was like, oh, this is a personality fit that
Yes.
really works. And so then it felt like more of a gamble to step away from that and try, going into Second City, even though like you do that, you go and you maybe work with people, you're like, and you do material that sometimes you love and sometimes doesn't fit you or whatever, because it is that institution that offers so many possibilities. So it's always a trade-off. It's always, you're always
Hi,
giving up something.
hi to bed. Hi to bed.
I mean, I could do it right now. I could do the
Wait,
whole damn scene.
there's a scene we're referencing called Pictionary, which is that's one of the kind of hits in the scene, and it's a scene that every Second City performer who's come up through Tourco or done the business theater does. Written by, I think Carell was one of the writers, and it
Mhm.
hits 100% of the time. And so that's like an inner joke, but it is that moment of like there is a thrill to do your own stuff and have that hit. And you're like, oh my God, that thing that I wrote or the thing we came up with together that we're doing it here.
Yeah.
There is a different kind of feeling when that hits versus doing material that someone else wrote, which is still great,
Yeah.
but it's different.
Oh, for sure. But for me, it was, I mean, this is true, I think, of any pursuit or profession or interest. You learn so much more quickly when you put your own self into it and then it fails.
Yes.
Because it's real easy to step back from somebody else's material and go, well, if that scene had been written better, I killed it.
Right, right.
My material wasn't that great. But when you're writing and performing your own shit, you're like, there's nobody else to blame here but me.
And I fought everyone here to put this up. I said, this is going
Totally.
to work. I'm going to make it work. And you're like, holy cow, this is not working. And we got
Well, and
6
those
more
are
minutes.
like, I mean, that's what will make us laugh till we wet our pants, is when we think about the things that we spent time and money and energy on. And then we're just like, what? Like, yeah, we had an idea for a scene early on. And not that this is like illegal activity I'm about to divulge, but we stole like a Sun Times
Oh yeah.
newspaper dispenser, like the box. Um, do they still have those?
I mean, I think they do for like the free weeklies, but most of the time there's just garbage in it.
Right? Anyway, we took one because we were going to use it in our show, and it was like this big hullabaloo. And then we were like, this sucks. And then we never used it. So yeah, like I think about the things that we spent a lot of time trying to figure out. But I mean, you're so much more of your, for better, for worse, so much more of your ego is on the stage. And so you're like, oh shit, this is like, yeah, we had no one to blame but ourselves. And yeah, so we took some big swings. We had a lot of big misses
Yeah.
and
But
some
you
stuff
have to. But that's how you get better too.
yeah.
I I met, I think we tried to do a radio thing together. It was me and I was in a duo at that time,
Yes.
Ferrari. And
Yes.
we had a really easy time writing together, but there were two sketches that we would reference whenever one of us kind of wanted to veto an idea. One was mine that I wrote at a bar where it was me having a conversation with a bottle of whiskey. It's like, hi, I'm an alcoholic. And the whiskey's like, I'm whiskey. And he's like, what the fuck? This is therapy. This is not a sketch, dude. And then he wrote one called Fizzo, which is a magician that could tell what things were by his feet. So it was like, we'd be like, all right, that's a Fizzo or that's an alcoholic. Those are,
That's a pizza.
it's a Fizzo one. It was like,
That's a pizza is a lot less offensive to throw around than that's an alcoholic. Like I'm just picturing people listening in on your writing meetings being like, what?
not good. Um, uh, I also want to ask you about, you're in this show, we talked a little bit about, and it's this show that features a lot of improvisers in Chicago. It's called Work in Progress, and season 2 is about to start, but you're on the writing staff. You also were so funny in season 1. How did that come about? Like, I know how the show came about, but how did that come about, getting where you got involved? Because I mean, this whole thing that we work on comes down to relationships.
Yes, it does. Yes, it does. Hang out long enough and meet enough people.
Yep.
Someone will take pity on you. That's my.
Oh, come on.
No, I know. No, I'm being facetious, but I had a couple ins to that project because the co-creators are Abby McEnany and Tim Mason, who I both know from the Chicago improv scene, and Tim Mason and I went to college together. We went to undergrad together.
No, what?
Yeah. So
Marquette?
we've known each other. Yes, we are Marquette.
I went to Marquette for 1 year, Kate.
Shut up.
My first year, I lived in McCormick Hall, the beer can it was called. Oh yeah.
Oh, I know. Do you know they tore it down?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Last year? No way.
Yeah. I was asked not to come back. You have to maintain a certain GPA. And
Yay.
I know.
Do you know how hard it is to not get asked to come back to Marquette?
Yes, I do, Kate. Yes, I do. So you and Tim, you and Tim knew each other through college, but also the improv scene in Chicago.
That's killing me. That's a separate conversation offline. Wow. Mad respect. Yeah. So Tim and I knew each other from way back when. Abby and I know each other from improv and we're dear friends. And I just saw them through the whole process as like an outsider, as their friend, being like, hey, we're gonna make this thing, and hey, we're gonna just film the thing here in Chicago and make a bunch of shorts. So hey, we might stitch it together as a pilot. Hey, we're gonna send it to Sundance. Hey, it got into Sundance.
Right.
Hey, it's being optioned by, so like that whole thing was such a and I was just like you and I would be. It would be like we would catch up and I'd be like, what's going on? What's going on? What's going on? And then for season 1, they brought a group of us in to punch up, because they did like it was like unbelievable they did this, but Abby and Tim and Lily Wachowski, who's the showrunner and executive producer, they wrote the first season. They just did it. And then they brought in a group of writers to be like, here's stuff that's missing, or we need punching up, or so that was my role in the first season. And then I have a little bitty part that shows up throughout season 1. And then for season 2, they got picked up for another season, and then they were given a budget to have like a full writer's room. And so then I got hired to be a writer, which is like, it is quite, without hyperbole, it is my dream come true, is to write for television, which is always what I've wanted to do it with people that I love and admire. And the writer's room was just like a murderer's row of like some of my favorite Chicago improvisers, and some people I didn't know that I was lucky to get to know.
Right.
I was just ridiculous. And it really was like, it felt too good to be true. And then it was, because then coronavirus hit and we all had to go home. They were like,
you're like,
bye.
You're like, this is too good to be true. Everyone's like, Kate, shh. And you're like, no, seriously, this is, and then Corona hits. You're like, no, told you.
The like pessimist, like Irish Catholic in me was like, this is too good. Like what's going to go wrong? So that first season of writing really, the writing last year for season 2 was really like, we started and then we stopped and then we continued virtually, but it all got done. And then the shooting got delayed because of COVID, but they are shooting right now in Chicago. So
It is, it is to me the best. We talked about this, the best representation of Chicago. It's like that's Chicago. Like the scenes, the where they shoot, how the types of places they go to, the types of things they're shooting. It's like that makes me more homesick than anything I've seen Chicago related.
yes, and I agree. And it's like a little love letter to Andersonville, and
Yes.
it's which is where you and I both we lived between Ravenswood and Andersonville, and we
A
both Faye
block
and I
from each
were
other.
neighbors in Chicago. Um, but yeah, I love it for that. And I think because we both lived there, we can say that we're like, oh, this feels like Chicago, and it is. And I fucking love, sorry for my language, Facebook, but I love that they got to keep it in Chicago, because when they sold it, I was like, are they gonna make them come to LA and pretend like it's Chicago? Or
No, they would go to Vancouver if anything.
that's
It's like
right. That's
Vancouver, and
right.
you're like, why are you? But yeah, they shoot in the city. I mean, it's
Our
brilliant.
writer's room was in the city. The production right now is happening in Chicago. And because of that, all of this fantastic Chicago talent gets to be
Yeah.
utilized, because, and especially one of, I think this is like a roundabout way, but with coronavirus, the restrictions were so tricky, and with flying people in and
Yeah.
quarantining, that it only upped
It's so
the amount of Chicago people that they hired, which I'm just like, yeah, Chicago, because there's so many talented people there. It is,
unbelievable, right?
it's just, it's, yeah. I know everybody thinks that about the group that they came up with,
Yeah.
but for a city that I love because it is not defined by one industry, it has so many talented people there. So it's just all the more exciting that it gets to be a Chicago union crew, and
Yes.
the Chicago actors, and a boon to all the Chicago businesses.
And
So
you're watching these amazing, also not only Chicago actors get a good get good stage time and screen time, but you're watching also like you see Kane Collier as the bartender and you're like, "Ah, that's Kane," or you see Aaron Mason at the table and you're like, even the background are
yeah,
tremendous performers. And I've never been like, I've never wanted to be on a TV show. I've never been like, oh, I want to be on SNL. Like that's never been my path. The one that I do want to be on is, if I could be on any show, it'd be Work in Progress, because of what you're talking about, because of the Chicago
yeah,
angle, all the people, even if it's just like walking into a store, I'm like, that would be the one, because of the people I know in it and Chicago and what it stands for. And I just think it's a tremendous series. So that's seeing all these people go on and have good luck because of that. And you look at the cast and everything and you're like, this is something that hasn't been represented before as well. So to see
no,
that and to see all the different faces that show up, and you're like, wow. I mean, it is. I messaged Celeste, who plays Abby's best friend, and I go, her and Abby are both amazing actors, and that there's a shot at the end of one of the episodes of Celeste, and I just started crying because that shot at that
I
bar.
know
Like,
exactly what you're talking about.
I didn't expect to do it, and I was like, oh my god. Like, so I think, and the way Tim shoots it with sometimes the overlapping dialogue on the shots, like I think it's just a beautiful piece of art.
Yeah, it's, I agree. I don't know. I think sometimes you have to like give up, like there's always a trade-off, right? We were talking about
Yeah.
this earlier too. It's like
Yeah.
it all can't be good. And in that situation, it's all good. It's like um a show that I can work for, that I got hired to work for, a win. A show that has people that I dearly love,
Yes.
right? So I'm surrounded by people that I respect, but I also just like. And then it's a show I'm proud to be a part of, because I'm like so removed in this process, and I'm having conversations with people that are, finding dialogue with the younger generation in their
Yes.
life about what it means to be trans, or
Yes.
gender non-conforming, or non-binary in so many ways. And I think I don't know. It's amazing. It's like, it's so cool. And it's a funny show too. It
I
doesn't
think
have to be like this, like,
right,
here's the
right.
after school special, which is like, yeah, a watch
That's
out we've always had about like, don't make this an after school special. Like,
that's why
make it funny and fun.
I'm so looking forward to season 2 because it's like, oh, I hear it gets a little dark, which is like a good place to go. It's still funny. And it's just like, oh, it was one of those that's like you finish the last episode of the first season and you're just like, oh my God, I hope this gets picked up. And then it got picked up and you're like, I just can't wait to see what happens moving forward. It's just so great.
Well, it's a coming. I don't know when. I should know to
No, it's
plug it.
it,
I assume the fall or the winter. I don't know. How does TV work? I don't know. They're filming it now.
well, it's the thing of like it just keeps getting delayed because of the of
Yeah.
COVID. So like because it's also from what I understand it's not on a network, so it's not on that network schedule. So I'm
Correct.
assuming they'll whenever it's completed and they
Yeah.
feel it, but it's something to look forward to. And it's just such a funny show too. So like having that as like a great representation of what Chicago is, and you're like all those people on that show, like Kate, you and ABD and Brendan and Abby and
Yeah.
Tim, you're all like, there was a while where you go, why are these other people on TV? Why aren't my friends who are very talented
I know. I
doing
know.
it? They're as talented as those and more than those people. Why are they not getting a shot? And now it's like, wow, they're getting a shot and they're just crushing it.
And there's just so many more fun Chicago faces in season 2. And the little bit I know about casting and like all
Yeah.
the people that have come in to be a part of it. And I know this much. And I'm just like, oh, it's like so fun. So Chicago Improv folks, it'll be a little treat. You know, it's like a Where's Waldo. It's like in every scene, you're like, oh, that's the,
You'll see someone.
yeah, yes. I mean, and God bless Abby McEnany, like
Oh.
employing all of her ne'er-do-well friends.
But isn't that our
Very
goal?
grateful. Yes.
Our goal is like,
Yes.
let's work. And I reference Adam Sandler a lot and I go, he doesn't care what we think of his comedy. He doesn't care. He's playing with his friends and getting
Yeah.
paid to do it. And that's the goal is I want to work with my friends and laugh and be on set with people I respect and love and then create something that I'm proud of. So
Yep.
it's
Yeah.
it's so great to see it happening, really.
I agree. I can't even be like, I know, thank you. I'm like, it's unreal. Like I just at least several times a month, I'm like, I will scream at Abby. I'm like, why did they gave you a television show?
I mean,
Like, what?
didn't she not even want to submit to Sundance because it was like $20? She's like, nobody's gonna want to see it.
Well, I mean, yeah, I'm sure it did cost money, but I also think, and I don't know, this is gonna be my theory, so don't quote me on this. Don't run to Abby Facebook and say that I said this. But I think
I will.
I swear to God, Jay. I think it's protection, right? It's like you make something and then there's the chance to really put it out there and
Yes.
you balk at it. It's like when it's to me, it's the equivalent of like when you're on a really high building and you're like, what if I did fall off this? Like what would happen? And I think so any conversation around that of like, I don't know, should we? To me, my interpretation of that moment, if it was real, was everybody's imposter syndrome of like, what right do I have
Yeah.
to try to put this into this massive festival that has huge acclaim? Whereas everybody around you watching
Yes.
your art would be like, yes, please do it. And Lord knows there's enough people that aren't talented that are just like, look at me.
They've replaced talent with confidence.
I know. That's what I seriously, that's what we should teach the young people coming up.
100%. And you're looking at what Abby's doing is I'm putting parts of me out there. That's the other thing is you're putting your vulnerability there and
Yeah.
some things that might be exaggerated for sure, but it's like, it's your name on it. A lot of this probably comes from your mind as you wrote it. You're putting it out there and you're like, nobody wants to see that. And then, man, I'm being the most vulnerable because I'm putting this out there. Who wants to hear my story? And then to be met with that reception is just crazy. It's got to be wonderfully affirming too.
I think it is. I think it's completely, I think it's really overwhelming for Abby. And she's like the smartest person in the world. She's not on social media. She's not, she doesn't partake in any of this BS that we're doing right now. And so I think like when she has real authentic interactions, like in real life with people that are
Yeah.
like, hey, I watched this thing. I think for her, it's even more astounding because she's not doing what I do, which is like scrolling Instagram and being
Totally.
like,
Yeah.
oh, I've seen 30 posts about all my friends that are working on XYZ project. Like to her, it's, I think, and again, I'm speaking for her, which feels really awkward, but I think it's just the work and then she does it. And I think it kind of feels like an improv show. Like
Yeah.
the improv show happened and then you go home. And then, and she doesn't really surround herself with the echo chamber of like, we did the thing, we're doing the thing, I'm posting the thing, I'm still doing the thing, here's my thing. And the
Yeah.
thing hasn't even come out yet. Like so I think it's truly overwhelming. And I think you hit it on the head with the specificity of our stories. We think that no one will understand, but the more specific we get, the more universal it becomes. It's like, how many times do we have to learn that? It's like,
I'm still learning.
give the details of your messiness, because even if it's Abby's story is not my story, but I watch that and I say there are so many parts of her that I feel.
So many.
Yeah, I
So
know.
many.
It's the best.
Um, well, speaking of the best, my friend, you're the best. Please give my best to Steve and to your wonderful son.
I will. I
And
will.
what a blast. I can't wait. Where, if people want to follow you like on Instagram or Facebook or anything, is that the best way?
On Instagram, you cannot, unless we really know each other, because I post stuff about my kid and I
Perfect.
decided early on that that was going to be
Like,
a, but like, if we know each other, come find me. Um, but on Twitter, I'm at Kate C. James on Twitter. And then Facebook, I still have an account, but am I allowed to say this on the platform?
yeah, say
I
it.
think Mark Zuckerberg should be taken to The Hague and tried for crimes against humanity.
Yeah.
Are we still on?
Well, the thing, lightning strike. Oh God, oh God.
I still have an account, but I'm not active here because I really struggle with
Yeah.
what I have watched happen over the last 5 years with disinformation and I'm kind of joking about Mark Zuckerberg should be
I don't know.
tried. I do think we need to have a great reckoning. So don't come find me on Facebook because I don't look at it and I need to do the thing where I take it all down and I'm just too lazy. And
Yeah. Twitter.
Twitter, sure. Come join me on Twitter.
Do you know
And
why?
then go watch Work in Progress on Showtime. It's such a beautiful show. It's 8 episodes. You can binge it and I think you'll like it. And if you don't, tell me why, because I'll be like, what's wrong with you?
Well, here's my take in watching with loved ones. You don't you can binge it, you just don't want to. You're like, you
I
don't want
know.
it to be over. That's the thing. It's like we could binge it, but we're like, we want to watch each one because it's
I
so good.
know.
And each one is a little self-contained thing. And
I
it's just
hear it.
it's so good. It's so good that I'm like,
It's why I pumped the brakes on Ted Lasso. Like I really pumped the brakes so that I could like eke
right.
that out.
Again, more improvisers where you're like,
I know.
we're starting to change things. And that I believe the Ted Lasso school of comedy, I think it's going to be huge in the next few years of that positive feel good because of what we're coming off the heels of. I
I
think we
know.
need it.
I know. And that's such a beautiful show. That's another plug. I know everybody in our own echo chamber is like, it's so good. But if you haven't, it's worth like getting a free trial from Apple
Yes.
and
Yes.
it's so good and it's so whatever. You just said it. It's like
So
uplifting.
it's here. Yeah. And it's like we need that. And you don't fall into the tropes of a lot of sitcoms that they fall
No.
into. You don't have any of that.
Mhm.
Like as soon as Ted Lasso gets a couch, I'm out. I'll be honest with you, because as soon as a couch, it's either a couch or a kid show up and you're like, they've lost ideas, but like they have none of that. It's a very heartfelt,
Yeah.
positive thing where it's, and also there's a situation of like, oh, that's true. Like not all separations or people leaving each other are due to anger. Sometimes it's just things not getting out.
I know. It's
Anyway,
all
all
heartbreaking. It's
heartbreaking.
so good.
Well,
So good.
it's so good. And whether it's in person or virtual, I can't wait to play with you again and
Oh
just
my
catch up. It's great
God.
seeing you.
From your mouth to God's ear. Like the next time, let's be in person somewhere.
Yeah,
Somewhere.
somewhere we'll do it. And I'm going to hit up Steve to get him to do one of these because like he's
Yeah,
another brilliant improviser too. So
you
it's been
should.
great seeing you.
That's his superpower. Get him on here.
God, he's so good. All right, Kate, I've taken up enough of your time. Thank you. You're the
I've
best.
loved every minute of it. I will see you soon.
All right, bye,
Thank
my
you
friend.
so much.